Okay. Give this a second. 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 All right. Let's see how much this is going to be really weird. So right. I have feedback into my headphones, supposedly. So I hope you can hear me. If not, you know, sorry. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so let's get into this, shall we? It is now like, what is it? Sorry about that. It is Tuesday, January 19th. Okay, so a couple of things I want to start to touch on. I'm still really excited about the MacBook M1 moving off Intel. Apparently, according to tech sources, they'll be rolling out like the MacBook Pro 16-inch like towards the second quarter. So I think I may postpone my interest in that till then. It goes without saying why. So let's get what I'm sort of interested in now. Um, right. So we move in here, and I'm sort of like, woohoo. Yeah. So bear with me for a second, and I'll pop up something. Uh, Amazon. So what I want to say first, I really was impressed with the Kindle Fire, more so than what I would think I'd how I'd be impressed with it. I got it on the whim that I got it on the whim that I would need it for some of my ebooks. But so let me get to what I'm talking about, and then we can go from there. So right. Um the Amazon Fire is like the latest greatest from Amazon, of course. The king of, let's see what how much we can sell you. Oh, proof the notification. All right, on here. I love how they do this. They have to do a verification in every way possible. I'll get it off the phone. Give me a second. Okay, now we're sort of in business. So people tell you like, yeah, they tell you a lot of things about why Apple's so generally good. But I'm sort of excited for the M1, only because I think it'll be radically awesome. And I wonder if I like. I can't wait to fix some of this up later on. All right. So let me. So yeah. I think it is pretty awesome, honestly speaking. So Prime Video. I love how like Amazon sorts themselves in the app one way, then like on the website a completely different way, and you're like something. Yeah. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. Um, so I'm still excited for the M1, but a lot of things got me excited to an alternative future, and I'm gonna show you in a moment. Do 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 do. And there we go. More, please. Okay, why did you only go that far? I thought I actually like. Oh, I gotta go more than how much? 2020. Okay. Wow. Amazon really goes back if you need it. Just saying. Don't play around. Here we go. So, yeah, I'm really in for like the M1 when it comes out, but I'm sort of like, so this thing, this is an example of what I'm gonna share with you right now. So this, here. So this is like a capacitive stylus, and for those who don't know, it's like a heaven sent if you're going to use a tablet for anything beyond, sorry, if you're going to use a tablet for anything beyond a large smartphone, this is what you want. This is what like Apple has that makes their iPad so useful. It's like the Apple Pencil. It's like genuine. Once you get a hold of this, you are addicted and hooked. So right, I'm I got myself over the semester. It's a little more. It's actually pretty more pricier now, but I'll show you what it is. It, I'll show you what Amazon's selling it for now because I'm sure that's what you want to see. Here we go. The Amazon. So yeah. Oh, no, it's actually about. Oh no, it has gone up a little bit, but what do you do? So yeah, it's like it's the HD10 and it's a 10.1 inch. Now, let me give you a little like um what you call on this. So it's a standard tablet, and yes, that means it doesn't have built-in LTE. Um, but it is quite elaborate. It has a was I believe it's an octa-core modern octa-core processor. It has 64 gigs of storage. It is expandable, unlike the iPads, which you must take as they are. So you can't throw like a 512 gigabyte SS, sorry, SD card into it and just expect the expansion. Here you can. So, and it's Android, which is nice. Now, there's always this discussion, like everyone on the end user side of things usually believes Apple has like high tech and they're great. And honestly speaking, it's not so much that as Apple packages the little tech they have right and then it works and then they're able to like really charge gargantuan amounts to people and make like a whole like big thing. Okay, so why am I showing you this? Here's the thing. Um, so with the way this is working, the the system is quite more. Is a lot more advanced. And now the thing is, they also have like apps. They have legit, genuine apps that actually do the same thing as the other Apple apps, like Notability and so forth. So, it, I think Cine was another one. It's spelled with a Z. It's another like note taking app you can just use with the Apple Pencil, and I think Cine is especially good for like people who like to sketch. So the thing is, these apps are becoming more prominent on the Android environment, and hence the Kindle. Now, the most things comparing the modern Kindle Fire HD series with the modern iPad lack information or at least genuine information. For example, a lot of them will claim that the Kindles are not stylus capable, and they very well are. The thing I like, and I still have to experiment more. This is like I got the capacitive pencil this evening, and I was just like, "Oh, I've got to go at this," and I did, and I sort of like what I saw. So great, let's get down to business. So the one thing, like, if you use Notability or any serious note-taking app on the Apple iPad, you'll know from experience you can only write with the pencil. You will not get the same lineation when you try to write with your finger, which does make sense. Well, it does and it does because basically, if you're going to be using this and your pencil goes out, then if you can like use your finger precisely enough, you should be able to get relatively the same effect, but you won't, not with an iPad. The interesting thing I found, and I tested this out with, give me a second, I don't remember the name of the app. is I know I'm drawing a blank. I am so sorry. Um, the app, I believe it was incredible, incredible. INKREDIBBLE. So yeah, and they're basically like pretty good. I downloaded the trial version. I downloaded the trial version of another thing called Squid. Um, yeah, I didn't get really to practice it, but Incredible at least seemed to be the best out of the three. That being said, I'm quite impressed. Uh, so here's the thing. Uh, do you see the Fire HD? Right? That's like about what 100. So now you're talking 100. Now, anyone who's like went after an iPad knows full well you're going to pay like $300-400. You're definitely not going to be able to download the trial of something like Notability. You got to pay the $20 out of pocket, and for some people, they consider that like a legit reason is you get the guarantee, which I guess sort of works. But here's the thing: 100, right? So already you're saving like a quarter off the price of the iPad. Um, and this is 16.99, and this wasn't the cheapest. This was like only one of the ones I found. I actually found one of the cheapest prices on this later on, and it's actually about $10. So you can get this capacitive pencil for $10 for real. So here you go. That's 10 to $16 already. Now this I tested it. It's at least I would say if not responsive as I would say if not as responsive, mostly as responsive as a Apple Pencil, which is pretty cool. I mean, when you consider that an Apple Pencil costs you somewhere in the neighborhood of like 120 for the first gen, and this is mostly comparable with it, that's a huge cost saving. From like 120 down to $10, that's some serious money you save. Then you consider the fact you save a quarter. Now, the drawbacks are, of course, is that the iPad has LTE connectivity, which is really, really good if you're going to be using it a lot, like on the road for work. You know, I can't get a connection. Oh, I'll just use my LTE connection to my cell provider. And there you go. So yeah, it's kind of like that. And that can be actually pretty beneficial when you consider it. Um, all in all, though, I think it's probably not what most people would expect. But it's still got like a lot of use to it, and I was genuinely surprised. I mean, I still wouldn't like completely abandon Notability to like rush to use Amazon Fire as an all-out replacement yet. But if you're not heavily vested in ex- in if you're not heavily vested in an Apple iPad already, this can be used as an alternative if you don't have the money, which I found pretty damn good. Give me a second. So right. Um yeah, I mean it's kind of like it it's wow. I can't believe how much YouTube I have up here. I really am like pretty decently published. So right. So let's go back. So yeah, this is like really good stuff to be like talking about. Especially I don't get me wrong. I'll I'll still consider the M1, considering the processing power of it. It really may just like break Intel and AMD, at least for like the Apple Fanatic market, and the, it'll put Apple back at least partly in tech. The other reason it can possibly is Rosetta for macOS Big Sur, or Rosetta. I think it's 2, they call it now, Rosetta 2, will actually support not only running backward compatible to Big Sur x86 apps, aka Intel or AMD, but it's going to allow you to run apps from the Apple Store for iOS. That means any apps you have for your iPad or iPhone will now be runnable on your MacBook, which is kind of cool. I mean, if you consider it, it's sort of like going the way Android is going right now with the Linux slash Chromebook um ecosystem. It's like so they, okay, this is where this becomes serious. So now let me get something. I love when right. So I mean, I don't know why it's like mm, you ever like look around and think, wow, how am I not getting this? Oh, now I see it. My channel. Oh, here we go. Here's the video of the moment. So, oh wow, that's running like wow, I look like awkward in that video, but let me do what I'm gonna do with it. So, right now, let's talk about it from the idea that the M1 is coming out is like kind of cool, but here's a breakaway. If you're going to remain on Wintel, I'm so old school. If you're going to remain on Intel AMD, then that's pretty much going to be Chrome territory. And this goes back to some the video I released like a while ago. Um, like when I released, I believe it was like about the oh god, I released a video about the Chromebook. I'm not even sure I know where that thing is anymore, the link, but Samsung um basically has released a Galaxy Note book that runs on Chrome OS that's premium. It's like state well, I mean at least for that form factor and that sort of thing, it's state of the art. I don't think it'll compete against the M1, um, firepower as far as the processor goes. But the thing about that is, I mean, even though it won't, a lot of people will not want to move immediately to a new like environment, even if it is like rocket fuel. And here's the thing about that. So the Chromebook gives people a different option. It also points to the usual, which is like, with VoIP, people did VoIP instead of like moving directly over the cell phone because they really felt just like too antiquated to adopt. So they took VoIP, which was the medium ground. They don't lose their traditional phone company, uh, and don't they don't lose their traditional phone company and get booted to cell service. While at the same time, you know, it's like they're still getting new technology to a certain degree. So yeah, it's sort of like that. And so the Chromebook for those, especially those who are already in that ecosystem, will work brilliantly. Um, because a lot of people will be able to jump on there, get their usage, and since it'll be able to run, because the new Chrome OS runs Android apps natively. Google wasn't foolish here. So, and then you add the fact that most of those Chromebooks can install some version of Wine. Now you can run a limited amount, a reasonable amount of Windows apps. And if you want to run even more, there's always VBox. So now you're off somewhat, at least, Microsoft dependency, and you don't have to leave the world of Intel to do it. I think that'll end up being medium ground to some degree for certain people. I think a lot of people will still remain on Windows because I mean, Windows is what Windows is. It it's an end user operating system. It it's horrible for like certain data centers and such, but for like application, for like front end relational databases, it it works. People are used to it. They're accustomed to it. It's got the Windows interface, and at the base of that, you have the old like NT DOS shell that everyone's accustomed to, and as far as administrating, so it's got all the end user perks. Um, Unfortunately, you know, as that occurs, I people are Windows for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons it's the easiest thing to get on. And until it's like not as massive, it will be as massive. It's just one of those things. Everyone goes to Burger King, so Burger King remains open, and Burger King keeps on doing what it's doing. No one goes to the juice store, so this juice store is open for another like this juice chain is open for another 10 years or so, and then sometime down the road it'll close and then the chain all. But you get the picture. What people really like will always be the thing that keeps on keep on, or what easiest. That's the key here. But I'm really psyched about the M1 um from a like systems level programmer analyst perspective because I know a lot of it used to be a thing like when you needed to like compile code, you needed to be on the processor to do that work. You were compiling for Intel or AMD, you had to be on one of those two. But it's no longer that way. Um, Compilation portability is a thing, and now most compilers can compile for other machine environments, which is kind of awesome. So, with that being said, I think with the M1's processing power, what I'm most excited about is when I do take on like mega tasks, like compiling code or trying to like get a website up and actually like not just designing it, but implementing like scripts and CGIs. It'll be a lot faster and a lot easier, and that over the long run for your 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 relative power user is a lot. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Big Sur to begin with, but I'm going to also I'm gonna see how I can do boot on the M1. There's already videos for it, and I will get Linux, maybe Linux from scratch, and I will do boot on that because I think that will be fantastic. I'll I'll be able to sink my teeth into the whole experience. Why am I going into lore again? All right, so let's get past that. So yeah, I was really impressed. And the thing about the Kindle Fire HD compared to the Mac. Okay, let's start. The screen sizes are only slightly different. However, tablet sizes are a little bit more notably different. Um the and this is like a lot to do with design and everything, but here's key differences. Video on the Fire is notably improved. Put that next to its like substantial processing power. It's a nice bargain, but that's nothing compared to the fact that it has like real good doubly sound. It has stereo plus doubly. It I think has yeah stereo and stereo doubly, and the iPad I believe only has stereo speakers. So there you go. But yeah, no, it's quite an impressive like rack, and it's got the Bluetooth. So here's the other thing. So the one complaint usually from people is when you buy a Kindle, it has well Fire OS, which is a modified version of Android. And the main complaint is that you only get locked into Amazon store and you can't select from the full Google like thing, which is problematic. I mean, Amazon does limit you on like a lot of apps, and I'll be quite honest, a lot of the time it does make sense. Like McGraw Hill, why? It's used for a lot of educational classes, so why limit it? But Amazon will be Amazon. I will say this to their credit though, they've made it easier to install Google Play on the Kindle hardware. So you don't like you used to have to actually get a bootloader and because I have a Bork like 7-inch Kindle around here. It got borked when the not many people know what I'm saying, but it got broke when or it basically ended up screwing up the firmware when Cinnamon Android started an update and it never was able to finish for whatever reason. Um, yeah, when I before I came back to college, I was seriously doing some stuff. So right, so it basically forked up, and in doing so, it's like no, which is okay. I mean, I only got it for an inexpensive amount. I'm gonna try one day to like, because I've tried a few times to do it in a nice way. There are like root ways to hack in and get the firmware back. I just haven't gotten that right yet, but I'll get there. Um, so yeah, okay, let's get over that. But yeah, you used to have to you used to have to hack install an alternative version of the Android operating system, which was not Fire OS, and then install Google Apps that way. So Android made it nice and easy where you can say, yes, I want to install like apps that don't come included in the store or with my like Fire tablet, and you can load the apps via USB drive or something, or download them off a website and legit install them. And one of those apps you can install is the latest version of Google Apps that can run on Android. You can also install the, oh God, I'm trying to think. You can also install the latest version of Google Apps. Oh, you can like Google Apps, Google Play, the whole nine yards. And then you can have it on your Kindle under Fire OS, which will still be like legitimately installed and legal. And you can still like do the usual Amazon updates, and Amazon will not lock you out of doing this. Bonus is that you can then take Google Play and install a lot of the things that are not in Kindle apps. A good example is Lecture Notes. Lecture Notes was very impressive in the reviews. It was one of the things I wanted to download, but I didn't want to pay the full price because it cost money. But they do suppose they have a trial. And the thing about that is, so the trial was pretty good. Um, but I had to do it through the Google Play. I went through the Kindle app. I always go through the Kindle app first to like see if like Amazon does support it. I'll be like, oh yeah, then it makes my life easier. But if they don't, I can always install it by Google Play. And here's something mega important. Like a lot of people are concerned that doing this will like screw up their system, and I want to make sure to say this. So what you install by Kindle apps is the same thing you'd install via Google Play. So if it's in Google Play, it just means for some reason, if it's in Google Play and not Kindle, it just means for some reason Amazon did not want to put it in their library, and they do a lot of that. And not all the time it's because the app is bad. Sometimes it's due to politics, which I imagine with McGraw Hill, it probably is. There's probably a lot of stuff that McGraw Hill sells um, that takes like money away from Amazon, or at least, you know, get some reason to pause. But the good thing is, when you get through the Google Play Store, it's the same kind of app. You're not doing anything that'll screw up your system. And what's really good, and I like, is the old Fires had a severely like lockdown system that created all sorts of stalemates and slowdowns in the operations. Modern Kindle Fire, not at all. And to that degree, the capacitive pencil worked beautifully, even when it was just like being lazy and like moving around the screen and tapping icons. The pencil was so awesome. It was like quick, responsive, and precise. Exactly what you would expect. And remember, 120 is for Apple. This was only $16.99. Free shipping next day. You don't get that every day. And even if you pay 20, it's still like, come on, 6 times less the price. Be for real. Um, but that being said, I'm still excited about the M1. I want to see what the M1 MacBook Pro 16-inch will look when it comes out the second quarter. That's what I'm really, really, really like getting into because I could see that. I genuinely could. That seems like a really good deal. And with that, it would, I mean, I don't know. I can imagine doing a lot of stuff with something like that. I mean, and the MacBook Pro, the one they have out now, the 13-inch, has been reviewed and it's been verified that in, only for the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air claims on battery life didn't pan out as much, but with the Pro they did, and literally the thing runs around 20 hours, no charge, just 20 hours straight on max productivity, no charge, it runs. I don't know about you, my hearing aids get between 16 to 18 hours a day, and that's because I need them to hear. I don't know anything you would do 20 hours a day straight on simply battery life. You go to class, even if you do 2 classes a day, that's at most 6 hours, 20 hours. That's practically a whole day. I'm like impressed, and the processing power and the specs coming out of it are gorgeous. Especially for its price range. So this is why I want the 16-inch. I can only imagine if this is the debut, debut of the new Apple, then like really this like MacBook, and then I okay. So let's get like a little intimate here, shall we? So my first thing was computer science. To be more exact, I it was computer programming, and I'm basically a systems level programmer analyst by nature, by trade. So mm, one of my most used languages is actually machine language, aka binary, aka assembly language. Ooh. And I've actually had the benefit of programming machine language for I think around 25 processors. And then I've also like had another like 16 or so that I've studied intently. I'm not really all that familiar with. I mean, it's a machine language. I gotta be honest with you. If you think like going from Windows 95 to Windows 98 is a lot, or like from Windows 3.1 to Windows like 10 is a lot, or even from like Windows 95 to Windows 10 is a lot, then going from machine to machine with assembly language is like so much more intense because it's based mostly on the processor and the registers because that's all you do. You're literally performing operations on those registers and switches and literally shutting on and off electrical circuits. Um, it that's the simplistic form of it, but yeah, it's that in a much more elaborate way. So, but I really get I can't believe I'm smiling about this. No, I really would. I would love to take a poke, poke, a push, a peek at the registers? Yeah, right, okay. I'd like to t I would love to take a poke at the, or a peek into the, um, machine architecture and actual, like, registers and that, and actually see, like, what system, like, level development on it is like. I think that would be my greatest reason for, like, really delving into it because that it's quite I mean, it's got a lot on it. It's got a neural engine. It has like just has all these complex engines that that are not even like I don't think you can actually like measure this against like what most people consider modern processor, even when it's a multi-core, because most of those processors work on the presumption that a core just does this like grunt work. And this is so much more. And I think it's beautiful. And it's like it's risk. It's literally risk. Um, okay, in case you don't understand, risk is reduced instruction set computing as compared to CISC. Now, nothing is pure CISC or pure risk anymore. But Intel and AMD, at least to a degree that they support the PC architecture, are sort of cisgets. You have to be. It comes with the territory. The ARM, which is Advanced Risk Machines, I believe, is architecture, which is mostly what the M1 is based off of. The modern ARM architecture is a risk. So the idea of the two is this: when you're in like a CISC environment, the idea is to build up the processor with all these needless instructions. So it does everything under the sun in the processor. But this has problems. It creates more memory needs and such. I could go on, but it's complex, but it adds baggage to what the computer has to needs in order to handle um, different tasks. Risk is the theory that you should reduce the instruction set of a processor only to what is needed, and then the operating system and other like um, forms of software, like the post and the yeah, the BIOS, the post, the bootloader, the operating system. That'll take care of the rest. They'll build on. And certainly we've seen in modern times, this idea has carried on to other things. It used to be firmware, which is basically software on fixed, like read only most of it. Okay, I'm not even gonna get into that, but it's like firmware on. It's like software on chip. So the firmware used to be like you put everything on there, and then the operating system just took all the like nuts and bolts from the firmware, And then we got TMFI, which is where we are now. The something modular firmware interface. I forget. I think it's external. But anyway, so the idea with that was you took all the baggage from firmware and gave it to the operating system, and the operating system would handshake the firmware, and then basically it would negotiate, find out what the firmware has as far as basic capabilities, so then it would be able to use what it has as far as software capabilities, drivers, to complement that. And it basically lightens the load on the hardware, and it puts a little extra on the software. But if you understand modern processing, that really isn't a lot. Like, that comes and goes as is. Where what's loaded in the firmware is basically, it stays permanently in memory. And this is where it gets tricky. So, right, okay. So, like, the idea of moving back to, because originally, you know, um, originally, Mac Apple had moved from the Motorola, the old Motorola environment, which you really, some people say they're CISC, but you really can't call them CISC because there was just not a lot to them. They moved from that to PowerPC, which was RISC, and this was significant, and it gave them a huge boost in processing power and whatnot. So I'm kind of interested to see this from a programming systems analyst perspective of like what's really in there that I can tweak. But yeah, so it's a little something of that. It would be like I would, I really want to see like what the Linux kernel would be like on top of that, because then you could really tweak it. And if you want, you can take and like, because Wine, it used to be that Wine only worked on Intel environment, but given the way the new Macs work and everything, given the advancement in Wine off the Intel, um, yeah, that could be a whole nother ball of wax. So then you can run like Windows apps, like legitimately on another processor, on another operating system. Not a lot of money either. So yeah, it's sort of, and the thing is, I mean, seriously, the rate at which the apps run, from what I've seen the reviews, are like, in some cases the x86 app, the Intel app, the Intel slash AMD app run better on Big Sur M1 under emulation than they did natively on their original machine. So that tells you a lot right there. And this is why I'm like excited. This is not just a like more cores or this or that. It's like a completely new way to look at the machine. And that's why I'm like really excited to get my teeth into it. So right, let's get past that. So yeah, I mean, it's like, but you're like, so why do I get, okay, ADD moment. So you're probably like, now, then why would I be talking out my side about like Amazon and the Kindle and the capacitive pen? Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I'm a heterogeneous user, meaning I will use from multiple environments what works best in each. Um, that's always been my thing, and like know what to tell you. I mean, I built office environments which mix Mac and PCs because, like, productivity. You can't get away from it. Like, one does one and the other does the other, and you don't mix apples and Dells, even though the farmer and the farmer and the Dell. Okay. Um. So right. But basically, I'm sort of excited because it gives an alternative, and I think that's like one of the things. Like when it's like doing my own thing before I came back to school, when I was out there in the field running my ass off. Oh yeah. Right. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there I know a couple of you have like seen my like email name and like the Barter PC page. So yeah, what that started from was part of the way I did business was I would take like card of payment from the computer and then I would turn around and okay, sorry. If someone had to use computer or something, it was usually a used computer to like get rid of. I would take that as a partial payment. It was not fun, especially with sometimes when I had to lug those things around. But here's the thing. So I would take that, and then a lot of the time I would turn around and then like I would refurb and I would sell that thing at like so disgustingly below market value. And it wasn't only PCs I did this to. I did this to Macs. And it seriously, it worked out. I mean, people got what they needed from it. I was able to support like with that, I was able to support like people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford computers with computers they wouldn't otherwise be able to support, which I guess is like I gave away a lot of my time with that. But honestly speaking, don't I really don't like regret it. This is going to get into an intense topic. But yeah, so that was the whole thing of how that. So I don't even know what I'm getting into right now. I just took this like and sidewinded it in a whole different direction. I'm not even sure why. But yeah, so I basically, I did what I did. I did what I had to. Like everyone else does. So, um, now the thing about the Kindle is this is like an affordable option. This is what I'm getting at. So I used to do that. I used to make like really affordable options to people. And I know a lot of you Apple diehards out there going, oh, no way. And for you, okay, but really there are a lot of people out there starving right now who don't have the money. And honestly speaking, this is a good alternative. And I think that's why I want to share it most of all, because I think I was like thoroughly surprised. I was expecting this to be clunky. I was expecting it to be like completely like, oh my God, I can't even use this. I can't write with this. This is junk. That's why I only spent 18. But I mean, I figured I had to like, because I bought the Kindle inexpensively for the purpose of like ebooks. So while I'm like sitting here with the iPad and I'm writing, and I'm like with the MacBook, I'm like zooming to class. I'm like, I want something that legitimately gave me an alternative. Like if I like didn't have an ebook to deal with, but I wanted to um but I want to go ahead and take and have another notepad for whatever reason. I'm kidding myself. I wanted to see if it would work, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really was. I can't be any more happier. So, two things. This one, I want to congratulate Amazon on something done right, the Kindle Fire. But before I get to that, I'd like to um, congratulate companies like the ones that put out Squid and lecture notes and like incredible, spelled INK readable. I want to congratulate them at doing a job well done. They've actually built an alternative, like scribbled down note taking market for the Amazon Kindle, which I don't think otherwise would have been there without the supporting app. Um, yeah, and I also want to like congratulate the inventors of this incredibly like cheap capacitive writing pencil. I mean, this is glorious. It like it pulls the whole thing together. So, what does this all mean? Well, if you're too poor, or if you just don't have the legitimate funds for an iPad with an Apple Pencil, you can grab an Amazon Kindle, get the trial version of Incredible from the actual it's actually you can download it from, or no, it's not the trial, it's the free version, which has limits to it, but I won't get into that. It doesn't have all the pens and everything, but you can get that for free and have something to write with. And what it's getting at before, so like when I tried to finger write with the iPad, it came out smudgy. And Notability is not cheap. Notability I got on sale for like I believe it was $9.99 at the time, and Notability usually costs like $20 or so. So it's not a cheap app. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, but no, $20 is not something you just like come up with overnight. So Incredible is free. The um the Kindle is about 100. Sorry, but it's cheaper than the equivalent iPad, which would be around 329. So give a little, take a little. Then the capacitive pencil is around $10 to $20, depending on where you get it on Amazon. and whether you have Prime for shipping or not. But still, that's not totally bad. I mean, $10 to $20 when the actual Apple Pencil is 120 is a huge difference. Put it together, you have a pretty good replica of an iPad with the Apple Pencil. It's not perfect. I won't say it is, but if all you want is a digital notebook to write notes down in, let's say for classes or maybe short meeting, it's perfect. It really is. And then a total price tag of approximately 120 or so, as compared to like, I don't know, 450 or more, you can't go wrong. You really can't. Um, and for those who are interested, Amazon does allow you to buy like an extended service warranty on not just the um not just the Kindle Fire itself, but also if you buy the passive pencil, I believe they actually sell like a 2 or 3 year extended warranty with that. Don't quote me on that though, and for the price, but still, you're saving like a ton of money. And if you're starving and like financially speaking, hopefully you're not starving literally, but if you are, I hope you get some assistance and actually get a good meal in that stomach. But seriously, if you're like financially starving and or broke, like legitimately broke, like I don't have enough money to go cross town to go to my primary so I can get like my medication refill broke, then yeah, okay. This is what I'm talking about. You can like send your kid to school with this and not break the bank. And in fact, you would not approach the price of the iPad with the Apple Pencil unless you got at least three or four of them. And by that time, if you're sending 3 to 4 kids to school, it's still well worth it. I mean, I think. Um, of course, these days school is zooming, so take that as what you want. But yeah, I think it's a really beneficial like combo, and I just when I saw it, I'm just like, because I think what it was I was like on the trying to remember what I was looking at. I think I was looking at the actual page because I was curious. Like now that the semester's out, I want to know what the Kindle Fire legitimately did. Like what was its strong point? Like, oh, it's the greatest ebook reader since sliced bread. It does this, anything. So, and what I found was that the Kindle strong point was that um the Kindle's strong point was that it was the best for note taking. That's what I found. It rated number one in a top 10 from back in 2019, next to the 7th gen like iPad. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I would never like put that on there. I would never put that together. But this was a well done video. It wasn't just like iPads or like um iPad versus Amazon or iPad versus Android. It was Android, it was iPad, it was Chromebook, it was like Windows stuff. So it was like an old like let's like kill all these things and see what actually works best. And they actually did a pretty good job of the video. If you want to, I recommend you go over to like the Amazon Kindle Fire HD10 um page for the 2019 edition and see for yourself. And it's a pretty good video. And they basically go through a lot of details of why they picked each one. And I was quite impressed about what they said about the Kindle Fire. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I thought to myself, next time I get the chance, I should just look for the best type of stylus, order it, and then see how true it is. And I found a lot of styluses, and I'll probably want to try out a few more to see like what's out there because there's quite a few interesting ones with different grips and that. But I was quite impressed. I really was. For the money, I cannot complain. Sorry, can't be paid. Put that the wrong way. Um. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for an inexpensive like alternative, the iPad taking class notes. This is pretty damn good. I like. I mean, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's pretty up there. Um, you know what else? You know what tomorrow is, right? Do you? Do you? I'm just saying, no one's gonna miss him. Not that you think he's going anywhere. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty cool in and of itself. So yeah, I mean, aside from that, I'm trying to think of what else I want to do and say about this. It's kind of like a nice long one that's kind of live, and especially since I heard it. Uh, what else? Uh, so I'm kind of like I think it's like I know I'm getting excited over tech. What can I say? Uh yeah. Oh, Mandalorian. Let's get on that for a second. Let me get my soapbox for like the few minutes I'm gonna leave to this. So Mandalorian. I am like just I don't know what to feel. I seriously and legitimately wanted to see the best in it, and I didn't see the worst. But at the same time, there's a lot to happen in the Mandalorian that's like, yeah, not really. Um, I'm not that crazy about the conclusion um so far, because of course we have to come back for season 3. But I'm not too crazy about the fact that Luke Skywalker appeared out of nowhere, and that's the other thing. That was a little too predictable. It's like it's a time error, the era and everything, and it's like the style of approach. I knew once I saw the X-wing, I'm like, okay, come on, really? This is so cheesy. I already know who's gonna step out that X-wing, and sure enough, it was Luke Skywalker going to get the baby Yoda and make sure he got the Jedi Temple. Yeah, it's we saw this one coming, but I think it was poor execution, and I'm not meaning to like, but I think a lot of people will appreciate what I say when I say that like sometimes you need something drawn out, um, you know, to appreciate it, and this wasn't drawn out at all. It was like really fast. And then like Moff Gideon just like up and died like oh and that was it. And it's like that was way too easy. But so why can't I do anything right these days? Um so basically we know what's gonna happen next. Um I mean, if Moff Gideon is out of the way, right, and he was the bad guy, we gotta have his boss coming next, and we know who his boss is. So we're gonna have Admiral Thrawn, the guy with the blue face. Come on now, and this is gonna be like a little interesting. I'm kind of curious how they'll work this into season 3, because I really like Ron is one of those characters you have to find the right person for. You just can't easily like do it. Like I was trying to look up actors for it. I know Cesar Romero was one person. I think Pierce Brosnan could do it. It's like a really because gotta have a person with very like distinguished characteristic that has that sort of like tone, and not a lot of people do. It's like so that's why I'm saying it's gonna be interesting because we're either gonna be like someone we like, someone we absolutely hate, or we're gonna be like with someone we absolutely disappointed with. I really can't see an easy route to someone we'll just genuinely love. If they pull that off, I will be like, wow. Um, so let's see if they got someone. I'm kind of curious. Admiral Thrawn, Mandalorian. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. Already people are starting to get like Rosario Dawson was like really good for like I was really impressed. Um Run is really gonna be like it's gonna be a whole nother exercise in futility. Plus, what's gonna happen with Baby Yoda? I don't wanna see this like storyline die. I'm like kinda curious now. Let's fill the gap. Like what happened there? You know, Moff Gideon said he got what he wanted. What was it he wanted? And by saying he got it, what did he mean? And do we know if it got away from him? Because there was lots of talk how this had something to do with the cloning of Palpatine that led to his appearance in like the last, last Jedi. Oh my god. Kill me. I mean, I I like every Star Wars. I'm bona fide like Star Wars, but yo, for real, e- I can't even speak. Even like the prequels did a lot better than that. But that I mean, there was a lot more potential for Ray. There was a lot more potential for Kylo Ren. There was a lot more potential for like a new villain. Seriously, I could see like a Lumaya, a Dark Sana, anything coming into that instead of Palpatine. Palpatine was like, I was just so disappointed. And mostly it's because they Disneyfied it. Disney is just like, oh, we're going to make it like all disappear and retcon everything. Which, so this sucks. But hey, listen. I mean, they've even, I think they've retconned some of like the Rebel stuff to a limited range. Who knows? Um, but yeah, so now Thrawn. Thrawn is going to be one interesting bit to cast, and I'm like, I really want to see how they're gonna pull this one off because they really haven't been like that successful. Disney, um, as of recent. Well, I mean, they find people. Don't get me wrong, but as far as putting it in place, they haven't had the greatest like record as of recent. So I guess it's just gonna be a wait and see. Okay, getting back to my disappointment, the final episode. Completely predictable. I think it ended the Moff Gideon Yoda storyline way too quickly. I wanted to see that play out more, and it really didn't. And then I was also disappointed at Ashoka. Like, Ashoka was like there for 2 seconds. I mean, we were all told, "Oh, Ashoka, Ashoka." Like, "Oh, great, we're gonna have a whole season with Ashoka," and not even. She showed for 2 seconds of one episode and then was gone, and we're like, "Really?" And that's it. And everyone's left guessing whether she'll come back in season 3. At least she's getting her own spin-off, but I'm like, I'll have to see. It's gotta be good. Okay, so the other things I was disappointed with it. First, Boba Fett. Now, come on. We know that in that fight, Skywalker wasn't. I'm almost positive Skywalker who did it, but maybe it was Han Solo. One of them push Boba Fett off the brick into like the mouth of the Doom monster on Tatooine. So Boba Fett should be dead, legit. So that's not even like good retconning at all. Um, we're going back to ROTJ. So yeah, we got a Boba Fett reboot all of a sudden, which I'm not complaining, but sensibility. Um, there was also something else that irked me. There was another thing. Oh yeah, so I was really thrilled to see Ashoka. Don't get me wrong, but didn't Ashoka die in Rebels? If I remember correctly, didn't she have a battle with Darth Vader when she protected Bridges or something like that, and she ended up dying? So I'm like, how does she end up back after the fact? So yeah, I think that was something else I was uncomfortable with this season. There was a lot of retconning going on, and I'm not like one who's against it if it's a good retcon, but at least like have it make sense. And we weren't really like it wasn't really a lot of talk like, oh yeah, this happened and that happened. So it was like, hmm, I wonder. So yeah, I mean, maybe in future episodes we'll see Ashoka, and Boba Fett's supposed to get a spinoff. So probably like somewhere in that we'll get some answers and closure. Like, why the hell is this guy still standing after that? But yeah, it sort of like irked me the ridiculous retconning. I mean, because in more than one case in the Mandalorian, it's mentioned like about both Death Stars. Like, okay, so we're admitting there too. There's like, so how do we just erase most of the other like established movie stuff? And even like, I think she did die. I have to go back and check out. And like I said, I'm not disappointed. I really like that she was in there, but I also watched the new Doctor Who Christmas special. I really thought it was good. Really quite blunt. I thought it was great actually. I don't think I had one complaint about that. I think one thing that'll be interesting though is so in the last um over the last season, I guess it is the last series, whatever they call it. We got introduced to the Doctor, um, Ruth, and when this thing transpired, all of a sudden we got oh yeah, for the Christmas special, we saw the new Doctor, or not the new doctor, because it was never officially announced. But we saw that doctor that we saw in another episode. We saw that doctor waving in sort of like a ghostly appearance. Um, so it makes you wonder what's on for next season. But unfortunately, the news from that front is next season won't start until I believe next fall. And by next fall, I don't mean 2021. I mean fall 2022. And I saw the air go out of the room. So I know. Um, for real. I'm sort of like sorry I watched it now. Because now I'll have nothing to keep me busy. The doctor. But yeah, I mean, I'll survive somehow. Uh, I'm trying to slowly make my way through all this stuff. The Boys. Has anyone seen this new series on Amazon? I'm like, this thing is like a cheap ripoff of Heroes. I can't even like, not even close to good. It sucks. Well, at least it sucks in the way that you like want to hate almost every character in it. And I don't mean in like a fun, like intense, engaged way, like you do with Cobra Kai. I mean like in a dull, like painstaking, like you realize every moment you're watching it way. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of going around that, and I'm not finding that interesting. But um, Cobra Kai is kind of fun. I gotta get back into it though. I only finished watching the first season and I checked out, and now I gotta get back to that. I also have to catch up on my ST Discovery. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like all the people who like Star Trek, never liked Star Wars, like The Mandalorian the best. And everyone who's like Star Wars, who never liked Star Trek, likes Discovery the best. So is there a conspiracy to get us together? Ah, that's been a full run, hasn't it? All right. I think I'm going to end it here and like wish everyone good night. I like this conversation. It was kind of nice, sort of, maybe. Um, and yeah, I guess that's it. I guess I'll see what the video is like later because I want to see like that echo earlier was really horrible. I don't know what that was from. All right, then, everyone, have a good evening, and I will talk to you again soon. Soon, soon, soon.